So it sounds like when people enter the home, he's like, Jesus, he's a big Shiba.
I know.
I just literally finished training a Shiba like a few weeks ago.
Really?
So I'm so used to them being smaller.
Yeah.
And I saw that you put in there like big Shiba. I thought that was funny.
So he's the fourth in my family, and he's like double all of them.
Oh, he's big. He's
Yeah.
like in between a Shiba and an Akita.
I know.
It sounds like territorial stuff.
Very, yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and fill me in.
When he comes over, it's normally if it's, I have family over all the time, like my brothers and my cousins and everything. He's normally okay. Sometimes he'll just get like really overstimulated where he'll start jumping pillows, like jumping onto the couch, biting pillows, humping pillows. He kind of, he'll jump up and like bite my brother. He's not like aggressive, like he doesn't growl with it. It's just more of like, I don't know, trying to like get our attention or something. But with my boyfriend, if he comes over, then he gets a little bit more aggressive.
Okay. What's the worst bite he's had? Was it punctures?
No, he's never broken skin. It's just more of like an annoying, like constant jumping up and like just nibbing on people. I mean, it definitely hurts, but.
If I were to walk into your home, right, like ring the doorbell, whatever, like what's that gonna look like?
So I live in a building where they drop off like packages into the unit, and there's only one guy that Rocky will let come in. But for the most part, even if I have like a food delivery or if my neighbor's walking in and out of his door or something, he'll always like just start howling and barking like crazy. If someone comes in, then he'll keep barking. If he doesn't know them, he'll keep barking and like sniff them and just kind of like be weary and like back up and stuff.
Does he ever like open up to them, or does he stay kind of wary?
He stays kind of weary unless like if they stay for like a couple hours or something, he'll eventually like be okay, but he'll still be like biting the couches and stuff.
Okay, so, like
so not really okay. Yeah.
Is what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. That's like I would say I don't get many firsts.
Yeah.
That would be a first. Okay. Have you tried training in the past?
Yes. So he went to boarding training for like 2 weeks.
Okay.
And he learned like sit, stay, heel, but he doesn't really do that anymore.
Okay. Was it with food or prong collar?
Food.
Food.
Yeah.
Was this when he was a pup or?
He was a puppy.
Okay.
That was kind of really the only training he got.
Okay.
And yeah.
And you said he's the fourth Shiba in your family.
Yeah.
So you have 4 total right now, or you've had 4 in your life?
So like when I say that, I mean my mom has one, my brother has one, and then my cousin's family has one.
Did you ever have one before?
I had one growing up.
Okay.
But
so
not
your family's
myself.
Familiar,
Yeah.
like with Shibas?
Yes.
Okay. Is he the first one that you've had that's like displaying this kind of behavior?
Yeah, they're all extremely different. I mean,
Okay.
he's like not really like a normal Shiba in general. Like he loves water. He's kind of more on the outgoing side. I don't know. He's different.
Yeah, he's like his face is different.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like the poof.
Yeah.
Obviously the size.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else I should know about him?
I think that covers it, but it's really my boyfriend he has the biggest problem with.
Okay.
But just in general, like having people over is kind of always a whole ordeal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And then you referred to us, is that correct?
Yes.
Who was it again?
Paulina, Sakula, and Megan O'Carroll.
Oh, Megan? Is that with Leroy?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I was like, that name sounds familiar. Leroy. I remember Leroy.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you guys work together at school or?
Work together.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Leroy.
Yeah.
We actually trained right here.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So with dogs, he's like, he loves dogs. Like that was never an issue.
Nice.
Just humans.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes things easier.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more there is, the harder it is.
Yeah.
At least for the client. Trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing question-wise. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve?
I just want him to like, because I could tell that he has like so much anxiety when people are over. He'll start like panting a lot too, and like he just can't sit still.
Okay.
So like it's frustrating for me and my guests, of course, but it's also frustrating for him.
Yeah.
So I just really want him to like be okay with that.
Okay.
I think that's like that like situation with him is the only problem we have.
Okay.
And he's pretty young, so I don't know. I just kind
What's
of.
his age?
He turns 3 in December.
Okay. Yeah, he's a young guy.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have him for at least 10, maybe 12 more years or
Yeah.
so.
So I definitely want to fix it.
Okay. So one thing I always tell my clients to keep in mind is you want to think like, okay, I'm gonna have this dog for another 10 plus years. Right?
Yeah.
Am I willing to be doing this for 10 plus years? Not the training, like, this is going to be, we do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's more of a lifestyle
Yeah.
than so much as we fix the dog, right? So I don't like the term dog training
Okay.
because dog training implies at some point it would end,
Yeah.
right? So like, for me, I went through training to become a dog trainer and then it ended. And then I walked away and I had the skills to become a dog trainer. And over the course of 15 years,
Yeah.
I've gotten really good at it, right?
Fair.
Myself as a human. So for the dog, one of the most common things I hear from my clients is, well, when does the dog learn to be a good dog?
Yeah.
And I'm done. And I go, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Your dog's being a good dog because you're doing a good job about reinforcing all the training.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like every day you're going out your way to train the dog. But
Yeah.
you have to, it's a lifestyle of like you providing rules and boundaries, expectations, making sure that his needs are met, exercise, stuff like that. It could be 6 months and he's doing great. And then one day he decides like, what about today?
Yeah.
Right? And then he acts up. Well, you correct him.
Yeah.
And that surprises people when I go, but he's not a car. Right? If you take your car to the mechanic, they're like, you need a new muffler.
Yeah.
Swap him out. Oh, good as new. Right?
Yeah.
He's a living, breathing creature. He has his own emotions, his own feelings and stuff like that. Shibas are notorious for being like aloof and stubborn.
Yeah.
There's not many things when people tell me about breeds that I'll go like, how'd you say, like Great Danes are gentle giants. They don't bite anybody. My worst bite is from a Great Dane.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I can say for sure that for all the Shibas that I've worked with, they are definitely one of the most primal breeds.
Yeah.
They're not like training any other dog, and I'll go into that as well.
Okay.
But when things happen, I'll tell the client like, well, if you've gone 6 months and this is the first time the dogs try to push any boundaries, like that's still really good.
Yeah.
We went from like every day or multiple times a day to like once in 6 months. Like that's great.
Yeah.
But they're just kind of, again, that expectation of, oh, my dog's trained. He's a good dog now. I don't need to do anything. And they go, that's not really how that works.
No, I totally understand that. Yep.
So, did they fill you in on the methods that I use and how I train?
Yes. I honestly didn't get too much information. I know that, and just from like looking at your website and stuff, that it's a lot of e-collar based.
Yes.
I honestly know nothing about it.
No problem.
I'd love.
Educate you.
Okay.
Yes. So, e-collar is more popularly known as like a shock collar.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure you've heard that term. That term is incorrect. It comes from two places. One, when e-collars came out many, many years ago, they're not as refined as they are today. Okay, so back then an e-collar could have 5 settings.
Yeah.
Okay. Today we have 127.
Okay.
So 5 and 127 are the same.
Okay.
I just have 122 more divisions now.
Okay.
Okay, so it's much more refined. It's much more nuanced.
Yeah.
Like you can barely feel the difference between 5 and 6 or whatever.
Okay.
Whereas with the old collars, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 were drastic. Okay, so it was shocking, so to speak.
Yeah.
Also in the dog training world, there's a lot of drama. There's trainers that use positive only, praise, affection, treats, stuff like that. No aversives. There's even some schools of thought that you can't even tell your dog no.
Okay.
I had a client, she was in a puppy class and her puppy jumped on her and she instinctively just kind of did this and said no and she got kicked out. Yes. It's like cultish in some, I'm not lying. This is, yes, it's crazy. You can't even say no, okay? For trainers like myself, I use everything.
Yeah.
I use positive reinforcement, I use positive punishment, prong collar, e-collar, gentle leaders, whatever. Puppies under 6 months, it's purely positive training, okay? We do clicker-based training, gentle leader stuff. Because it's puppies, it's usually crate training, potty training, real simple stuff, kindergarten.
Yeah.
Once they hit 6 months, I tell clients that dogs tend to treat their puppies as adults. So at that point, I train them as an adult.
Okay.
So they would be on a prong or remote collar. Okay. And the reason why I use a remote collar is dogs are physical creatures. He's giving you some good examples, right, where he's using his mouth, right?
Yeah.
That's physicality. And he can use his mouth to play. To initiate play. It can be as a form of releasing frustration, right? Chewing on the couch. It can be a form of affection, like when dogs kind of nibble. If you ever had that happen, like a little nibble on your skin or whatever. They use it as a form of a correction. So for example, if I pet him and he did not like me petting him, he may bite me to say like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a correction, that's not aggression.
Okay.
So we also want to look why the bite is happening, because dogs don't do things for no reason. So a human can walk down the sidewalk and as a passive person, just do this and punch them for no reason.
Yeah.
Dogs don't do that. Okay, dogs, everything they do is fueled by a reason, and it's understanding what that reason is, and then helping them understand that either one, that outlet is not acceptable. Like for example, jumping and biting at guests coming in, not acceptable. You said overstimulated, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're correct. He's overwhelmed with overstimulation.
Yeah.
It creates frustration. The frustration has to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where you get chewing up the couch,
Yeah.
jumping, barking, nipping at the guest. Okay, it's all outlet of frustration. He's overloaded.
Yeah.
Okay, so the goal there would be we have to address the overstimulation because that's what's fueling everything. And instead, we want him to be more passive. So if a dog is passive, it takes more for them to get to that level. So if I'm dealing with a reactive dog, lunging and barking on the leash, they can't even see dogs, they can't even see people, right? So that's the problem. But it's not the symptom. Like people go like, oh, my dog lunges at people, that's a problem. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's a problem, but it's not the problem.
Right.
Right? The
Right.
dog could be scared,
Right.
the dog could be anxious, it could be nervous, it could be overwhelmed, right? I go, we have to address that. Once we address that, the symptoms now go away.
Yeah.
Okay? So the remote collar I like to refer to as like a bite on a button.
Okay.
Have you ever been to a chiropractor?
No.
Physical therapist?
Yes.
Have you ever had the TENS unit? The muscle stimulator?
Yes, yes.
That's an e-collar.
Okay. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So if you take an e-collar and a TENS unit and you feel them side by side, they feel very similar.
Okay.
TENS unit is more continuous,
Yeah.
right? Like so if they put on my arm would move like this for as long as the machine is on.
Yeah.
Because it's trying to either break up scar tissue, relax muscle tension, whatever that is, right? For dogs, it's momentary. When I press the button, there's a contraction. If I press it again, there's another contraction, okay? So it's controlled, it's a fraction of a second, whereas a TENS unit would be continuous for as long as you wear the machine and it's turned on, okay?
Okay.
And our system is waterproof. Like with the TENS unit, you have to be careful operating around water and stuff like that. Whereas with the brands that we carry, they're fully waterproof with the transmitter and the receiver, okay? So like I had a client who was a physical therapist. Her veterinarian told her not to do e-collar for her dog because it was going to be painful and torture and all that stuff. And the dog was biting people, and then for resource guarding stuff. And then finally she ended up having her consultation with me, and I was telling her, and I said, you know, do you know what a TENS unit is? She's like, oh yeah, I'm a physical therapist. I'm like, oh great, because that's what an e-collar is. She's like, you're fucking kidding me. She's like, my veterinarian told me it was like an evil thing and all that stuff. She's like, I do this to people all the time. I go, right. And I was like, when you feel it, it'll feel exactly like a TENS unit.
Okay.
Okay. So it's the closest thing that we can get to a dog bite without actually biting the dog.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had some dogs that were so aggressive they needed 2 collars.
Oh.
To override. They're almost always 140 to 150 pound dogs, like they're massive dogs.
Yeah.
And we have to override the stress. We have to override the aggression. We also have to override the size of the dog. So
Yeah.
in those cases, I've had like maybe 5 dogs in my career that needed 2 collars.
Wow.
Perfectly fine. They're just really tough, large
Yeah.
dogs, right? Every other dog is on a singular collar. But I always tell clients that everybody has a breaking point. It's just a matter of where's your dog's breaking point, okay? And then are you willing to go there to teach the dog, like, this is not acceptable,
Yeah.
okay? So I'm not trying to come in and max out the collar and just make your dog roll and scream and yelp or whatever. We start low, we work our way up, similar to a physical therapist, right? They start low, they work their way up. They say, tell us when it becomes too much. They dial it up and you go, oh, that's too much. They dial it down and you go, that's great. That's perfect, right? And they let the machine do its job.
Yeah.
Very similar with dog training, okay? There are exceptions, but we always start low, we work our way up, and it's a very logical process. So when you're seeing it happen, if we did end up at 100, you'd be like, well, this makes sense because we tried everything below 100 and it didn't work. But once we hit 100, all of a sudden he stopped biting or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not coming in hot and it's just like, let's go. Like we
Okay.
start low, we work our way up until we find what works right for the dog.
Okay.
Okay. Questions on any of that stuff?
Not really.
The prong collar, which is a spiky looking tool, you've probably seen that on some dogs, is a great tool. I more so incorporate it. I don't really rely on it for training.
Okay.
Okay. So I would never go, oh, your dog, I'm going to train this dog on a prong collar. Every dog that I train over 6 months is on an e-collar.
Okay.
Because it's the best training tool in my opinion.
Okay.
The prong collar, great tool, takes more technical skill. Okay. A lot of times, like let's say I have a German Shepherd and it's a couple, it's let's say a guy that's 6 foot and then the girlfriend is like 5 foot, right? And he's big and strong and she's going to be more dainty. He can correct the dog to a scale the dog will respect, but she may not be able to do that because of size and strength.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the prong collar, although it's a great tool, it has its limitations in that regard.
Okay.
Whereas with the remote collar, if I gave you the remote or I gave your boyfriend the remote or whomever the remote and they press the button at the same level as what we've deemed as correct, it's going to be the same thing.
Okay.
Okay, so we get more consistency across the board.
Okay.
I have had clients as old as 60 to 70 years old, they go and buy a 1-year-old German Shepherd. And they're like, oh, help us train our dog. And I come in like, why would you do this, right? But then I go, all right, no big deal, because I know the remote collar can close the gap.
Yeah.
So even though they're not as strong and they're older, their number's probably going to be higher because I'm compensating for the fact that they're older, not as strong with a young 100-and-something pound German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So across the board, it's the one tool where I go, I'm going to have the highest level of success because I'm not worried about the human size, their age, anything like that, or if there's any kind of disability.
Yeah.
As long as they can press the button and turn the dial, we should be good.
Okay.
Okay. Questions on that?
No.
Have the other Shibas been trained in your family?
Pretty similar to the training that he's.
Food-based stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So training a Shiba is not like training any other dog. Okay. I get some that are. I've had some that were easy. I would say a quarter of the Shibas that I've trained throughout 15 years are easygoing. Okay. The last one that I trained was actually fairly easygoing. It was pretty straightforward. But I always warn everybody because I don't know how it's gonna work out. Okay. The other 75% are like spider monkeys.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sure you probably heard like the Shiba scream.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another dog might like bark out of frustration, whatever, whereas Shiba's scream.
Yeah.
So it makes it look or feel worse.
Yeah.
Unless you understand the breed.
Yeah.
It's like the first Shiba I ever trained many, many years ago. Bit the mom, bit the brother, bit the dad, bit everybody except the sister, the owner. Okay. And I remember going in to train the dog the first day, and I was just walking out the house into their driveway, had the collar on and everything, hadn't done anything yet. And the moment I got outside to go into the driveway, the dog all of a sudden looked at me, freaked out, flipped upside down, and grabbed the leash on all 4 paws, and then shrieked. And then everybody in the neighborhood, and that's back when I was going home, was like, what is going on over there? And I'm standing there with this, I was like, I haven't even done anything yet, you know? But I remember him, like he made a very lasting impression.
Yeah.
And after that, I've had more Shibas. He was by far the worst. But the vocalization thing or whatever is something that I warn clients about.
Okay.
So I tell them you have to overcome that.
Yeah.
If you don't, he will play that, and then we make no progress.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing about Shibas, his coat, maybe because he's bigger, doesn't look as dense.
Yeah.
But contact. Because the collar has 2 probes. The 2 probes have to make contact to make a connection so that we can work the muscle stimulator or whatever. Okay. Shibas, because of that coat density and they're so fluffy and like it's kind of chunky right here, it can be difficult sometimes to get consistent contact.
Yeah.
So that's just stuff that we try to figure out through the training.
Okay.
I've trained Samoyeds, I've trained German Shepherds, Shibas, all these other kind of dense coated dogs. We actually have it's an American Akita, but we have an Akita right now. Doing a board and train with me. Is there special adapters that are created to help us get that contact? But that's probably the one thing that is, I can say, consistently difficult with Shibas is also just contact of the collar.
Yeah.
But once we figure it out, it's fairly straightforward.
Okay.
Okay. Question on any of that?
No.
So, are you trying to do in person? Or are you trying to do like a board and train type thing? What are you trying to do?
I think more of like probably not board and train just because I wasn't there the first time, so I think I'd rather be.
Well, food-based training is like kindergarten.
Okay.
So even if you would have done it yourself, you would be the same spot you are.
Okay.
Right now. Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, it's kindergarten
Yeah.
stuff. That's why we have prongs and e-collars.
Yeah.
It's what I would call like big boy, big girl training.
Yeah.
So I've had clients in the past, and they'll go, Jesse, I'll pay your fee, but I want you to train my dog only with food. And I'm like, man, that's easy money, but I'm not going to do that because I know you're thinking Jesse's such a good trainer. He gets all these great reviews, right? That my dog's going to be that well trained, but I don't have to use the methods that he uses. And I go, no. I was like, the reason why I am such a good trainer with a high success rate is because of the tools that I'm using.
Yeah.
Right. So with how we train, that doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It really. The reason why I bring it up is winter. It's going to get cold here soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to start moving clients to my facility fairly soon.
Okay.
Because what people don't account for is that we get the lakefront breeze.
Yeah.
And then also I'm here all day.
Yeah.
So whereas you're only here for the hour and you can tolerate it, for me, once I'm here for like 3 to 4 hours, I'm just like cold.
Yeah.
Okay. So I start moving people to my facility. Where we train, For obedience stuff, does not matter.
Okay.
Whether it's here or at my facility,
Okay.
does not matter. That's more so for the human. So like on a busy, have you been here before?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like the busiest park in Chicago.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking. His clients like being here, seeing stuff happen, and then doing the training in the middle of it because that's what they would do when they go home.
Yeah.
But if they train at my facility and they go and do the training at the home, the way that I teach, it transfers anyways because I'm teaching you how to figure it out.
Okay.
I'm not just like regurgitating stuff.
Yeah.
Like I want you to be able to think and figure things out because that's what's going to make the training last a long time as opposed to just giving you rules to go by, and then when something happens outside of those rules, you're like, well, what do I do with this?
Okay.
Okay. So the pros of an in-person would be you learn more. Okay. The con would be slower.
Okay.
Takes longer. Okay, because I have to teach you to teach him.
Yeah.
Plus, if he ends up being true to his Shiba nature and difficult, right, is I don't touch the dog. I coach you through it.
Okay.
Okay. So you're doing everything hands-on, and then you got to do it at home. Okay. Typically, once we get over the first bad episode or two, if it happens, because sometimes the dog won't do it in the lesson.
Yeah.
And then the owner will go home, and they go, the dog did it at home, and they're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay? Is you want to think. Like what happened to me with that when Shiba, I was in the driveway and he's like shrieking, and then like everybody's looking at me and I'm like, uh-oh, right? Yeah. It's just the kind of the embarrassment factor.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and again, if he ends up eating easy peasy, then we're good. That's the main thing that I can foresee happening. That would be a deterrent for you because then you're like, this looks really bad. I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the in-person, you definitely learn more.
Okay.
Slower because I have to teach you to teach him. I really play it by ear. So the first two classes are always heel.
Okay.
The dog has to learn heel.
Okay.
It sets the foundation for everything. It's important because it helps the dog learn how the collar turns on and how it turns off.
Okay.
Okay, it's super important.
Okay.
If the dog does not understand the collar, it can make the dog worse.
Okay.
Okay, so like when I get clients that do e-collar training on their own before coming to me, a lot of times they show up with their equipment and everything, and the dog looks neurotic.
Yeah.
Okay, and I already know why the dog looks neurotic. It's because he or she wasn't conditioned correctly.
Okay.
And then they'll usually have it also very high. Because they're thinking, especially if the dog is like lunging and barking at people, we see that, we go like, no, can't have that, so I'm going to punish that with the worst thing I can think of, right?
Yeah.
So they make it very harsh. So the dog gets punished randomly because they don't understand it at a very high level. So they become neurotic. Okay. So then I come in, drop the number down, do proper conditioning, and then when the owner comes back, the dog will be like 50-75% better because the dog's starting to understand everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so conditioning is super important.
Okay.
It always starts with heel.
Okay.
Takes about 2 classes. The third class would be the class where we can start jumping into the behavioral stuff. Okay, because we've already got the foundation in, and then we can start working on how do we have people come over. Maybe some pressure exercises. Pressure would be, I came into the home, he's being himself, and I go and I touch him.
Yeah.
And I go, what are you going to do about it, right? Let's say he tries to bite me, no big deal. We would correct it. We would walk him through it.
Okay.
Now, would I advise your guest to do that? No.
Okay.
I'm doing it in case someone makes a mistake and does that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, that's why I asked earlier, like, what are your goals? Because that really determines how long the program's going to be. Would you want him to like have recall? Like, would he ever be off leash anywhere?
He honestly has pretty good recall already. I mean,
Okay.
it's not great. He kind of picks and chooses when he wants to listen to me. So, but like at the dog park, we have one in my building. It's just for the building.
Yeah.
But like if I start to lead, like he'll just like follow me. But I don't know if that's everywhere.
Okay.
I don't. But yeah, I would love that.
Okay. So I would highly recommend a reliable recall.
Okay.
So you want to think of it this way. If you call him and he goes, not today, right? And then you also want him to stop biting people. If you can't make him come to you 100% of the time without a doubt,
Yep.
he's going to question the other behaviors as well.
100%. Yeah.
It's like they're like pieces to a bigger
Yeah.
puzzle. Now, if you never take him off leash and never do recall, that's different because you're never giving him the opportunity
Yeah.
to ignore you in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's like, oh yeah, he goes to the dog park and he plays and stuff, and sometimes he ignores me, then I go, we have to fix that.
Okay.
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 Does he come with you to restaurants and stuff?
Yeah.
How is he with that?
He's like relatively okay. My parents, whenever he's at my parents' house, they give him human food. So he always when he smells human food, he always thinks of that. So sometimes he barks. But he couldn't. He sits and all that. He doesn't try to bite anyone. It's more so barking for food.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of his tension's in the home.
Yeah.
Not outside the home.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes life easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an exercise that we can cover as well, so that if you go to a restaurant, you tell them to I don't want to say lay down. It's called place.
Okay.
You're familiar with place?
Yep.
Right. Go to your bed. Don't move.
Yep.
A lot of my clients do that at restaurants.
Okay.
Because they would plop down their towel, they place their dog, they can have an hour to hour and a half brunch or dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
And the dog has space to move because he can sit, stand, or lay down. He just cannot step off of the object.
Yeah.
Whereas if you told the dog to down, they would have to lay down, and they can do nothing but lay down.
Yeah.
So if he sat up or stood up, we'd have to correct that. So a lot
Okay.
of clients use place instead.
Okay.
Okay. The reason why I suggest place is because it does give you another form of control. Most of the time with our dogs, they're doing what they want whenever they want, 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's a percent of the time where you go I don't like what you're doing right now. It's bad.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not applying more control, let's say you do 20%, you do what I tell you to do, and then 80% you do what you want, he's still doing a large chunk of I do what I want.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not that he will always be under control, but it's nice to have these things so he thinks, okay, you know what? Sometimes inside the home, mom's going to tell me to sit still, and I have to sit still for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is. And that's what just kind of empowers you in his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and walk with me, come to me, and don't move. Those three things alone, heel, come, and place, will allow you to do a ton of stuff with your dog.
Yeah.
Place is also technically another answer for people coming over. So let's say he's had some interactions with some guests and they're kind of wary of him. They're like, is he going to be out, right? As you tell him to go to his bed, they walk in and he's just going to mind his business. Okay, so then they're like, oh, wow, you got your dog trained.
Yeah.
He's not harassing me, so I feel better now. I feel more comfortable.
Okay.
And then for him, too, it just gives him that structure of when people come over, I'm not going to get to be this crazy mess or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to just keep myself in check.
Yeah.
Okay?
It sounds crazy. I can't even envision him being
I know.
like that
It
at
happens a
all.
lot. Yeah.
Is he too old?
No.
Okay.
I've trained dogs as old as 8 to 12.
Okay.
I always tell, if I get a dog that's a senior, it happens, but I'll tell the client, this dog's old.
Yeah.
I would just let this dog live its life or whatever. But
Yeah.
no, I really want to train the dog. I'm all right, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I go, I don't suggest it because they're just so old.
Yeah.
Right? He's young.
Okay.
He's a young guy.
Okay.
Okay. If he was 10 years old and you're coming to me now, I'd be like, do you really want to do this now?
Yeah.
Put the dog under all this stress.
Yeah.
And he may live
Yeah.
a few more years.
Yeah.
That I do look at it that way. He's
Totally.
3.
Okay.
You're gonna have him for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions?
No, that was pretty much my biggest one because I hear that from my family all the time.
No.
Okay.
That's a myth.
Okay.
It all comes down to the methods that you're using. I like to think of it as I'm approaching it in a way that a dog understands. That's also why we get really quick results in a short amount of time. So, do you speak another language or are you just English?
No.
No? You just speak English?
Yeah, just
Okay.
speak English.
If you went to Japan,
Okay.
okay, as a teacher, and you try to teach those kids in English, and they only speak Japanese, are you get anywhere?
No.
No, right? And if you did, it's probably going to be very slow.
Yeah.
Because you speak English, they speak Japanese.
Right.
I think of it the same way for dogs.
Okay.
Okay. I train speaking dog, and because I train that way, they pick it up.
Okay.
Okay. Food, dogs can learn things, they can associate things for sure, but food is good at reinforcing things.
Yeah.
It's not good at deterring things. That's where punishers come into play.
Okay.
Okay. So if he was acting up with another dog at the dog park, and they didn't like it, what do you think they would do to him?
Bite him?
Yes. Okay. Does that make the dog aggressive?
No.
No. It's correction.
Yeah.
Hey, don't mount me. Boom.
Right.
Right? So then he goes, Rocky, right?
Yeah.
So then Rocky goes, oh, I tried to mount you. You bit me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to leave you alone. That it's quick. There's
Right.
not a conversation. There's not talking about their feelings. The dog, he tries to mount. The dog bites him. And then he goes, I'm not going to mount you because I know you'll bite me. Let me try to mount that dog instead.
Right.
Let's say he does it. That dog doesn't bite. And he goes, oh, I can mount you, but I
Right.
can't mount you.
Right.
Right? That's how the training works.
Okay.
Okay. It's we're using it in a way that they naturally communicate, which is that dog bite.
Yeah.
We're able to get these things They pick them up quickly. When we're putting what we call pressure on a dog, it's not a request, right? It's a command. It's a demand. You're gonna walk with me.
Yeah.
And that's why if we're gonna see protest behavior, like the shrieking, whatever, that's why it's happening.
Okay.
Okay. It's because he's going, you have this thing I don't like. You're trying to get me to put my butt down.
Yeah.
I don't want to put my butt down, right? And you have what we would call a scuffle.
Yeah.
Right? So then you're like biting him and trying to get him to sit, and eventually he goes, all right, what happens if I just do it? And he sits. The pressure turns off. And he goes, oh, you started doing this thing. I didn't like it. I tried to resist it. It went higher. I finally put my butt down, and it disappeared.
Right.
So what happens if the next time you do it, if I just put my butt down? It disappears even faster. Maybe I don't even go up on the collar, right? So then he starts to realize, oh, I'm the one that's making things harder if I resist.
Yeah.
But if I just go with the flow, everything's fine. Okay. But that's why earlier when I mentioned about like the shrieking and stuff, if he starts doing that and you don't work him through it, you're not going to get anywhere.
Okay.
Okay. Because he's going, as long as I do that, you'll stop the thing I don't like, and I don't have to do anything.
Right.
And I can continue on my Shiba way.
Right. Right.
So
yeah, he's very much like that.
with a board and train type option, again, because of the methods that we use, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
You'll still carry the results. It's just that the pro is we get more done in a short amount of time.
Okay.
I get more done in a shorter amount of time because you're paying us to train your dog. I'm a dog trainer. I don't need to learn these things. Right? I already know them. So if he's giving me resistance, whatever, I'm just going to work him through it because I already know how to work him through it.
Yeah.
Whereas I would have to work you to work him through it, right?
How long is it?
A board and train?
Yeah.
Depends.
Okay.
So there's different lengths of time.
Okay.
And I'll give you equivalents,
Okay.
and then you kind of just pick and choose what you think is going to work best for you.
Okay.
Okay. So I tell clients, think of 3 weeks of your time is like 1 week of our time.
Okay.
Okay. Because with the board and train, the dog's training practically all day.
Okay.
Okay. I get all the commands done: sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. Okay. Whereas for you, depending on the program, we might only cover heel, come, and then place.
Okay.
Depending on the length of the program.
Okay.
Right? Because remember, I'm teaching you to teach him.
Right.
So there's going to be a delay. So we get more in a shorter amount of time. The con is you learn less. Okay. Because we're training the dog, and then I have to transfer the training to you. And since you're not the one doing it yourself, you're not getting as much information.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say we showed up here for the first class. We did the training. Let's say he was resistant. I helped work him through it. We get him past it. I go, here's your homework. Rinse and repeat. I'll see you in a week. You come back the next week, and let's say he's easy peasy. And you're like, oh yeah, Jesse, he tried it again a few more times, but I was able to do it because of what you showed me in the class.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas, like, let's say with the board and train, it's possible that I work him through it, you pick him up, and then he goes, what about you? Right? Well, you work me through it. But then you won't really know how because I'm the one that did it.
Right.
Now, with the board and trains, we do film the first lesson of everything we teach because I want you to see your dog in the learning process.
Okay.
So if I'm teaching heel and he's being resistant, I'm filming it, I'm recording it, I'm explaining it, okay? And then I make a comprehensive video. A 1 week board and train comes with one video. It's about 2 to 3-ish hours long.
Okay.
It's a long video because I teach heel, sit, stay down, come, place, heel.
Okay.
Right? From the get-go. So you're seeing your dog raw, right?
Yeah.
Learning everything. And I do that because I want you, if the dog has any issues, to see how we're working through those issues. So that this way, when you do pick them up, it's not like you just being blindsided by all these things. Okay?
Yeah.
And then they also come with follow-ups.
Okay.
So the follow-ups are in person, kind of like this. And you can show up and you go like, hey, everything's going great, but we're having a problem with the recall. So no big deal. That's the most common thing that people struggle with. Let's go over it together.
Okay.
So then I help kind of close the gap that maybe you didn't pick up on during the video.
Okay.
Or you could say, hey, the training's going great. He's super obedient. His recall is great, blah, blah, blah. But I want to know how to like have people come over. So can't cover that in a board and train because we're not a home setting. We're a facility setting. But we can, that can be an in-home, and I can show you how to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So the follow-ups aren't just what's covered in the board and train. Sometimes there's other things that we can't work on, like reactivity or resource guarding, or in this case, territorial behavior.
Okay.
So the clients will use their follow-ups
Okay.
to address those after the board and train.
Okay.
Okay. Questions on any of that?
Not really.
I would suggest if you did in person,
Okay.
I'd probably suggest a 9 class.
Okay.
It's once a week for an hour.
Okay.
Okay. So 2 on heel, recall, place, command, and stationary control, people coming over, how to socialize them with people, okay? And then depending on how that stuff is going, if you need more help behaviorally, we still have 3 classes.
Okay.
Okay. If everything's working great and it's like, it feels kind of step by step, right? You're making good progress, you're feeling confident, and you want to cover more commands like the sit or the down or the stay, or like, let's say you want to get them to be off-leash reliable, okay? We can use those classes to build the obedience to a higher level. We can use them to review behavioral stuff. Like, let's say you're still struggling. Maybe there's a person that comes over that for whatever reason, everybody else is great, but this one particular person is a struggle, like that happens. Then I'll tell them, okay, let's have a session where I'm there, and then that person comes over so I can see what's going on, and then we can work on it. Okay, so the 3 classes are really there just to give us a buffer.
Okay.
They won't go to waste. If everything's going great behaviorally, then we can cover, we can advance our obedience or teach more obedience.
Okay.
Or if we are struggling behaviorally, we have 3 classes to try to get everything under wraps.
Okay.
Okay. For a board and train, I'd probably suggest a 2-week instead of a 3-week.
Okay.
Okay. He would get everything sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. On the 2nd week, we're already transitioning towards off leash.
Okay.
So he's going to be more advanced in his training. You get, I believe, there's 2 videos. The first week, which is 2 to 3 hours long. The second week is about 45 minutes to an hour long.
Okay.
And then 3, it's all on my website too. I know it's a lot. It's all on my website.
Okay.
And then you get, I believe, 3 follow-ups.
Okay.
And if you needed more, you can always buy a small package of in-person. He's getting frustrated. In-person lessons. So that's why I'm not suggesting a 3-week.
Okay.
Is in case we need more to
Sorry.
no, you're fine, to do like the behavioral stuff.
Yeah.
You can always buy like a packet of 3 classes, whatever.
Okay.
But you would have 3 follow-ups. So if obedience is going great, then we can use the 3 follow-ups for like people coming over, socializing them with people coming over correctly, or how do you use your obedience within your home setting or what have you.
Okay.
Okay. So it's really just comes down to, do you want to do the work yourself?
Right.
Or do you want to get it done as quickly as possible, then just try to get the progress going.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think I want to think about those 2 options.
Yep.
What are the prices on each of them for the 9 and the 2?
I know the 2-week program is $27.50.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. There's also the cost of the collar.
Okay.
The collar itself is around $350-ish with tax.
Okay.
Okay. It's an investment, but they last a long time.
Okay.
My first batch of collars lasted me almost about 10 years.
Okay.
Okay. And then I replaced and got new ones. With the in-person, it's on my website. I feel like it's around $1,700 to $1,800-ish dollars.
Okay.
Okay. On my website, so don't quote me on it. I don't know if off the top of my head, but Tina will send you an email that'll have the pricing for the 9-week and then the 2-week board and train, and then of course the cost of the collar.
Okay.
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 Other questions?
I think that's pretty.
No, I think 1,700 is the 6-week. 9-week is more. It's like 2,200.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I think that's better.
Okay.
Because my rate for a single hour is like $275-ish.
Okay.
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 So then I was just doing the math in my head. I'm like, wait, that doesn't add up.
Okay.
But Tina will clarify. She'll
Okay.
send you everything. It's all on my website.
Perfect.
And then also on my website, it'll say like a 2-week board and train comes with this.
Perfect.
So then you know what you're getting.
Okay.
Whereas with like a 9-week, it's just you and me for an hour once
Yeah.
a week. Keep in mind, of course, that at some point winter's going to come, and that if you're training, doing the in-person, like you're doing the homework in the winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I always want to remind people because sometimes they forget that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know if I have any other follow-up questions. In which route I choose.
Yep.
Okay.
Tino, if your questions pertain to me, she'll ask me.
Okay.
And then I send an email back, and then she'll follow up with you.
Okay.
If it's like scheduling and stuff, she'll take care of all of that.
Perfect.
She'll send you a contract. She does go by the contract, so once that's submitted, she knows, okay, you're serious. Now
Okay.
I'll invoice you and all that stuff.
Okay.
And then depending on how this is looking here weather-wise, if you do move forward with in-person, we might be here for a couple of classes, and then it might go to the facility, or it might be already at the facility,
Okay.
or what have you. Just as FYI, if it matters to you, any dog who's trained with us is welcome to utilize our boarding services. They're not required to attend daycare or anything like that. Dogs who have not trained with us have to come to daycare at least once a week.
Okay.
So that's just something, if you ever, like I have a client right now who needs to board her 2 dogs last minute, and she just wrapped up training like 2 months ago.
Okay.
But she doesn't take her dog to daycare, so for her it worked out because she's like, oh, cool,
Awesome,
like,
yeah.
I train my dogs, and this
Yeah.
came up unexpectedly. So
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. That's good to know. I travel quite a bit.
If you need anything else, you let us know.
Okay.
Otherwise, nothing I haven't seen before.
Okay.
I work with plenty of Shibas.
Okay.
It's really just be mindful that of like the stubbornness and all that. Again, like I'll get it done, but at some point it's gonna fall on you.
Yeah.
If you don't follow through, like he's gonna play that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'll grab your mic before you head out.
Oh yes. Forgot about this.
You should send him to like the Guinness Book of Records for the biggest Shiba.